Before we dive in, if you love epic tales of war, strategy, hit that subscribe and like button, turn on notifications, and join our growing legion of warriors. Now, let's begin. Imagine a galaxy teeming with civilizations, each believing themselves to be the dominant force in the cosmos. But what if they were all wrong? What if, hidden among the stars, there was one species whose potential had been grossly underestimated? And what if that species was us? The Galactic Dominion, an empire spanning thousands of star systems, had long dismissed humanity as an anomaly, a primitive race confined to a single world, barely scratching the surface of interstellar travel. They were not the first to make this mistake, but they would be the last. It started with an invasion, one so calculated, so overwhelming, that resistance seemed impossible. The Dominion had crushed hundreds of civilizations before Earth, leaving behind nothing but silent worlds and abandoned ruins. Their armada, a vast network of warships, descended upon the Sol system with the cold precision of a species that had never known defeat. They expected humanity to fall in days. Instead, they encountered something they had never faced before. Something beyond their understanding. The warning came from the edges of known space, a distress beacon from the Amari, a once proud civilization reduced to whispers and ruins. Their final transmission was cryptic, almost desperate. Do not engage the humans. You will not understand what you have awakened. But the Dominion did not listen. Why would they? The Amari had been defeated. Their warnings meant nothing. The Dominion's fleet surged forward, blotting out the stars with their sheer numbers. Their war doctrine was simple: overwhelm, destroy, assimilate. Their weapons, capable of reducing planets to molten rock, primed for annihilation. And then, Earth's response came. Not a plea for peace, not an offer of surrender. Just two words, broadcasted on every frequency, in perfect Dominion dialect. Come closer. That was when the war truly began. The Dominion's high command barely acknowledged the transmission. It was impossible to take such arrogance seriously. No species had ever dared to challenge them so boldly, especially not one as young and seemingly insignificant as humanity. Their fleet surged ahead, cutting through the void, like a tide of doom. Thousands of warships, each the size of a city, moved in flawless formation. Their strategy was one they had executed 100 times before: target planetary defenses, eliminate command structures, and render resistance futile before ground forces even landed. It was a method that had worked against species far more advanced than humanity. But as they entered the Sol system, something was off. There were no planetary defense grids lighting up, no desperate distress calls, no signs of panic. Earth's fleet, a fraction of the size of the Dominion's, did not scatter or retreat. Instead, it remained eerily still, positioned between Mars and Earth like a silent wall. It was as if humanity was waiting, daring the Dominion to make the first move. The Dominion complied. The first wave of warships opened fire, unleashing a barrage of energy so intense that entire moons had been shattered by the same weaponry in past campaigns. The assault was designed to overwhelm, to force Earth's fleet into chaos. But humanity had been watching, studying, preparing. Instead of scrambling, Earth's ships executed a maneuver the Dominion had never seen before, dispersing at impossible speeds, slipping through the barrage with near-perfect precision. Their vessels, though smaller, moved like predators, darting between incoming fire and returning calculated strikes. Then, something terrifying happened. The Dominion's flagship, the Sarathian Wrath, the most heavily shielded vessel in their fleet, took a direct hit from a human warship no larger than a freighter. A single blast from an unrecognized weapon, one that didn't just damage the ship's hull, but ripped through its shielding as if it wasn't even there. The Dominion commanders barely had time to process what had happened before their screens lit up with incoming human forces. And that was when the real nightmare began. Human vessels weren't just attacking. They were adapting. Within minutes, their ships adjusted their formation, exploiting weaknesses in the Dominion's battle line that should have been impossible for them to detect so quickly. Every Dominion maneuver was countered almost instantly. Every attempt to shift the tide was met with a devastating response. The war, which was supposed to be over before it even began, had just become something far worse. For the first time in their history, the Dominion was afraid. Panic was not something the Dominion High Command was accustomed to. In all their conquests, they had never once faced an enemy that defied their tactical superiority. Yet, as the battle unfolded, a terrifying realization spread through their ranks. Humanity was not just resisting, they were winning. Dominion ships were designed for overwhelming force, built to crush enemies with superior firepower and sheer numbers. But against humanity's unpredictable tactics, their size and power became a liability. Human warships, smaller and faster, maneuvered in ways that defied conventional strategy, twisting, breaking, formation, and countering attacks before they even landed. It was as if humanity had studied every battle the Dominion had ever fought, and had built their entire strategy around dismantling them. But that wasn't the worst part. The true horror came when the Dominion's commanders attempted a full-scale retreat, only to realize they were trapped. Earth's fleet had been hurting them the entire time. Every skirmish, every false retreat, every opening left in their defenses had been intentional, forcing the Dominion's vast armada into a carefully calculated killbox, a place where there was no escape. Then, humanity unleashed something that defied all logic. A series of black spheres, silent, drifting, almost unremarkable, appeared amidst the Dominion fleet. They weren't warheads, they weren't energy weapons. The Dominion's sensors barely registered them as threats until they activated. Without warning, space itself seemed to fold inward. The black spheres expanded, swallowing entire Dominion. Warships in an instant, devouring them without leaving so much as debris behind. The physics of it made no sense. It wasn't teleportation. It wasn't destruction. It was erasure. Entire battle cruisers, each one powerful enough to reduce a planet to dust, simply vanished. The Dominion's admirals screamed across the command channels, demanding an explanation. Was this forbidden Imari technology? A weapon stolen from some ancient civilization? No, it was humanity's own invention, a result of centuries of scientific progress hidden from the galaxy's prying eyes. And then came the final transmission, broadcasted on all frequencies, a human voice, calm, measured, and utterly devoid of fear. You thought we were weak, but you never truly studied us. You assumed we would fight like every species before us. You assumed wrong. Silence, then, a single final message, one that shattered the last remnants of the Dominion's confidence. Run, and for the first time in their history, they did. Retreat was supposed to be the Dominion's failsafe, their ultimate, unquestionable solution to a battle turned sour. No species had ever chased them. No species had ever dared, until now. What remained of the Dominion's once mighty armada, those lucky enough to have survived the initial onslaught, turned and fled. Their warships burned their engines at full power, desperate to escape the gravitational pull of Sol's system. They had lost thousands of ships in mere minutes, entire fleets erased from existence, and now they ran, something they had never done before. But humanity wasn't done. A second wave of human warships emerged from the darkness of space, not from Earth, not from Mars, but from the void itself. Hidden vessels, silent and waiting, activated their drives and surged forward. The Dominion's retreat had been predicted, planned for, and turned against them. The hunters had become the hunted. The first Dominion ships that attempted to enter hyperspace were torn from reality. Mid-jump, they never arrived at their destinations. The remnants of their signals scattered across the void like dying echoes. Something was interrupting their faster-than-light escape, forcing them back into real space, right where humanity wanted them. The High Command, still reeling from the impossible defeat, demanded answers. How was this happening? Had humanity discovered a way to cripple hyperspace travel itself? Such technology was beyond even the oldest galactic empires. But the truth was far worse. Humanity hadn't disabled hyperspace. They had rewritten the rules. New form of interdiction technology, one unlike anything in known physics, was rewiring space itself. The Dominion's ships were caught in an ever-shifting maze, where each hyperspace jump only led them deeper into a trap. Every route they took was countered. Every escape was anticipated. And then came the transmissions. Humanity was speaking. To them. Calm, controlled, taunting. You always assumed we were just another species to be conquered, another world to be consumed. But you never asked the real question. What if humanity was never meant to be found? A chilling realization spread across the Dominion's surviving admirals. They had spent centuries mapping the stars, cataloging species, conquering worlds. But not once had they ever questioned why Earth, a world so rich in life, had remained undiscovered for so long, until they forced their way in. And now, the price of that mistake was annihilation. The Dominion's forces were no longer an armada. They were stragglers, scattered warships desperately searching for an escape that didn't exist. Some tried to send distress signals, pleas, for reinforcement from the core fleets of the Dominion Empire. None of those messages were ever received. Humanity had ensured that. The very fabric of communications had been severed, as if space itself refused to acknowledge their cries for help. Some Dominion commanders, in their final moments, whispered the same chilling thought across their private channels. This isn't war. This is extermination. And the terrifying truth was, they weren't wrong. But humanity hadn't wanted this. Long before this war, before the Dominion's first warships darkened Earth's skies, humanity had sought peace. They had yearned for knowledge, for unity among the stars. Their first attempts at contact had been cautious, hopeful, naive. But the galaxy had laughed at them. The Dominion had labeled humanity as weak, unworthy, a species so insignificant that it wasn't even worth the effort of diplomacy. Instead of alliances, humanity had been met with invasions, experiments, and culling attempts. And in those desperate years, humanity had learned a single, irrefutable truth. There is no peace for those who are seen as prey. So they had changed, adapted, disappeared from the galactic map, hiding, waiting, evolving, and when the Dominion finally came in force, thinking they had found an easy conquest, they had walked into a nightmare of their own making. One by one, the remaining Dominion ships vanished, not through destruction, but something far worse. Their systems went dark. Their crews stopped responding. Their ships remained intact, yet lifeless, floating husks in the void, silent graves. Those who survived whispered a single name in fear, one that would soon spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Phantoms of Earth, a name that carried one undeniable truth. Humanity had become the terror they once feared, and, now, the entire galaxy would learn to fear them too. The Dominion's once mighty war machine had been dismantled in a single battle. Their fleets, once symbols of unrivaled power, were now nothing more than drifting wreckage, silent reminders of their failure. But the true devastation wasn't measured in destroyed ships or fallen soldiers. It was measured in fear. Across the Dominion's vast empire, a chilling realization began to spread. The invincible had been broken. The unstoppable had been stopped. And worst of all, humanity had barely begun to fight. Then came the broadcast. Not just to the Dominion, not just to their rulers, but to the entire galaxy. A single transmission, carried across every known frequency, translated into every known language. No encryption, no secrecy, just a message. A human stood in the center of the transmission. No uniform, no military insignia, just a face, expression calm, eyes unblinking, voice steady. We were not your enemy. We were never your enemy. But you made us into something else. The silence that followed was deafening. Every empire, every federation, every species across the stars listened. For centuries, you ignored us, dismissed us, saw us as nothing more than another species to conquer, to subjugate, to erase. You took our silence as weakness. You took our patience as cowardice, a pause, a shift in tone. That was your first mistake. Galactic leaders felt a shiver of something they had never felt before. True, undeniable dread. Your second mistake, the human continued. You started a war with a species that doesn't know how to lose. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, The transmission ended. Nothing more needed to be said. The message had been received, and across the galaxy, in the halls of power where rulers once spoke of conquest and control, there was only silence. For the first time in history, the mighty feared the weak. But humanity? They were weak no longer. The Dominion had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Their empire spanned countless worlds, their influence woven into the very fabric of interstellar civilization. They had crushed rebellions before they could even begin, silenced dissenting voices before they could rise. And yet, they did not survive humanity. Not because of planetary invasions, not because of prolonged war, but because the fear of Earth had spread faster than any army ever could. News of the battle reached every corner of the galaxy. Footage of Dominion warships being erased, their mighty armada torn apart by weapons, beyond comprehension, played on every communication network. The great and powerful rulers of alien empires, beings who had once dictated the fate of entire civilizations, watched in silent horror. And then, something even more terrifying happened. The Dominion's own people lost faith, world after world, colony after colony. Citizens of the great empire began to question everything. If the Dominion's fleets could be wiped out in mere moments, then what was left to protect them? Governors abandoned their posts. High-ranking officials vanished overnight. Entire sectors of the Dominion's empire collapsed without a single shot fired. Not because humanity had attacked them, but because the Dominion had already lost. The Empire's strength had never come from its weapons or fleets. It had come from the belief that they were invincible. The belief that no force in the galaxy could challenge them. But that belief was gone. And in its absence, the Dominion devoured itself. Desperate warlords turned on each other. Once loyal officers abandoned their fleets. Planets that had once trembled beneath the Dominion's rule now rose in rebellion, without fear, without hesitation. Because now they knew. The strongest empire in the galaxy could be broken, and humanity? They had become the ghost in the dark, the legend whispered in fear. The nightmare that turned conquerors into cowards. The Dominion was dead, not in an instant, not in a grand final battle, but in a slow, cancerous unraveling that spread from within. Once, their name had been synonymous with power, dominance, and control. Now it was spoken only in hushed tones as a warning, because the galaxy had changed. Where once warlords had fought for expansion, now they hesitated. Where empires had crushed the weak without a second thought, now they paused. And when new species were discovered, the same question always surfaced. What if they are like the humans? No one dared test the answer. But the fear of humanity wasn't just about the battle itself. It wasn't about their advanced weapons, their impossible strategies, or even their eerie ability to control the battlefield like pieces on a chessboard. No, the true horror was something far deeper. It was the simple, inescapable truth that had been revealed that day. Humanity was never supposed to be conquered. They had been underestimated, pushed, hunted. But every attempt to destroy them had only forged them into something stronger, something unrecognizable. The same species that once gazed at the stars in wonder had now become their darkest mystery. Because even after the war ended, no one knew what humanity was truly capable of. No one knew how much of their power had actually been revealed. No one knew if Earth had more weapons, more secrets, more horrors waiting in the void. And the most terrifying thought of all? No one ever wanted to find out. The galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. No longer prey, no longer insignificant, but something to be feared forever. And that fear would never fade. Final words. If you've made it this far, ask yourself, what if this wasn't just a story? What if out there in the endless dark, something like this could actually happen? Would we be the hunted or the hunters? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to HFY Chronicles-849 for more thrilling sci-fi content. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and never underestimate humanity.